Okay, it's time for a good old-fashioned declutter video. But I shouldn't say old-fashioned because I'm doing this differently than I normally would do it. What I've been doing is I have a bag that I'm keeping by my desk. And as I'm going through products or I'm going through my collection and there are things that I know I'm not going to use, things that are like so old they need to go, I am just periodically dropping them in the bag. The bag is full, so I'm ready to talk about these products and get rid of them. If you're new here, my name is Rachel, welcome. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I'm gonna do this in two parts. The first part is not eyeshadow palettes. The second part is eyeshadow palettes, because otherwise this will be a really long video. So let's just get to it. Now, just because I'm decluttering these products doesn't mean I don't like them. Some of them I don't like, but some of them it's just that they're really old or whatever. I'm gonna tell you why I'm decluttering them and give you a little mini review on them, basically. So, let's start with primers. First off, straight off the bat, I will tell you, I am not a primer person. I don't wear primer all that often. When I do wear a primer, I like a gripping primer. That's about it. I don't like pore filling primers. I don't like moisturizing primers. So that's where these kind of fall into the mix. So first off, I recently talked about this primer. This is the e.l.f. and Dunkin Donuts collab, the Do Not Forget primer. I don't like this primer. I don't like it. I'm never going to use this ever again. It is mimicking the Luminous Putty Primer. So it is that more like shiny metallic type of finish while being a putty primer. So I feel like it accentuates my pores when I do wear it in my pore area, and putting it out on the perimeter of my face doesn't really do much because it is like this yellowish orange tint. I feel like it just doesn't look good. It's not what I want. Maybe someone else would want it because it's fairly new. I'm gonna pass this on to a friend or family member, see if they like it, but I don't want it. I don't want it. Then I have two primers from Smashbox. I have the Photo Finish Primerizer and I have the Photo Finish Vitamin Glow Primer. So first of all, these are really old. First and foremost, old, don't need them, don't want them, get them out of here. I don't want them on my face. But with that being said, even when they weren't old, I didn't really like these primers. I've heard so much about this Photo Finish Primerizer. People rave about it. It comes out in this white cream. Well, it's like a cream to liquid. Once you start working it in, it's a very, very watery type of moisturizer. I just don't like it. I don't feel like it does much for me. I do have oily skin, so I feel like my moisturizer is plenty for me. This is just like an extra step that I just don't really care to use, so. And then the Vitamin Glow, it's basically a moisturizing primer. See, it's brown. It's not supposed to be brown. It was orange. That's how you know it's time to go. Ew. But this was more of like a thicker moisturizing primer, and it has like vitamin C in it, and I kind of talked about this recently. I feel like products that aren't vitamin C serums, everything else is a gimmick to me. Like if I want vitamin C, I'll wear a serum. I don't need my primer to have vitamin C in it, so I don't want it. And then this is the Tarte Base Tape Hydrating Primer. Very, very similar to the Smashbox Primerizer, except it smells like coconut. I love the scent. I love the scent. And actually, I've used probably 75% of this little tube. It smells really nice. I love coconut scented, but it's exactly the same as the Primerizer. Once you work it in, it's like a watery type of primer. So everything I said about that, I feel the same way about this. And plus, this is very, very old. And then this one is not super old, but you can see I've used half of it. I really gave this a fair chance. This is the Rare Beauty Always an Optimist Pore Diffusing Primer. So this is basically like a pore filling primer that you would get from a lot of brands, except it is slightly more on the moisturizing, hydrating side. Like once you work it into the skin, it's much more of like a moisturizer type of feel, but also slightly silicone feeling. In theory, it feels nice, but I feel like anytime I used this, my foundation sat really weird on top of it. I don't know, it just would not look good underneath my foundation. It made my skin look kind of weird. I just didn't like how it made my foundation look is what I'm trying to say. So I don't want it. I'm gonna pass it on, see if someone else will like it because, like I said, it's fairly new. Okay, we have some more Complexion products. I have the Hard Candy Chilling Wonder Powder Sheer Envy Loose Powder Hydrating. Okay, if you've ever used the Becca Hydrating Loose Powder, this is basically a drugstore dupe for it. It is that type of loose powder. When you apply it to the skin, it's really weird. It feels like you're putting water on your skin. It's very cooling. It feels wet, but it's a loose powder that sets. Okay, kind of gimmicky, but whatever. I did a full face of hard candy makeup, which I will link down below. I did it a while ago now, but I bought this for that video. It had to have been at least a year ago, if not longer. So recently I tried it again, maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe not even a couple weeks ago, very recently. And the actual like cooling, wet feeling is gone. So it's dried out, basically. It's expired. So I put it on my skin and I was like, yeah, I don't feel the cooling, wet feeling anymore. But what I did feel was all of the moisture from my skin being sucked out of me. I felt like I had been at the desert with no water for a week.
Water would be nice.
Like nasty, dry under eyes, tight, gross. So I need to get rid of this. I need to throw it out. Nobody wants this. Nobody needs this, and it's expired, so it's gotta go. Another product from Hard Candy that I am going to declutter is the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Stay and Slay Hyaluronic Acid Makeup Setting Spray. So I've used about half of this. I was really mostly using this to wet my brush when I wanted to wet my eyeshadows. I don't really wear setting spray very often. When I do, I like the Urban Decay All Nighter, and I like the Morphe setting spray. That's kind of it. The Urban Decay is good for making my makeup last, and the Morphe one is good for kind of making the powders on my face sink into the skin if I've added too much powder. I don't feel like this does either of those things. First of all, the spray is so aggressive. Like I can hold it as far as I can from my body, from my face, and spray it, and it feels like I'm holding it this close. So it's very aggressive for a spray. And also, when I spray it on my face, the droplets almost just sit on top of my face. They never actually sink into the makeup. So I feel like I have spray dots all over my face, and I don't feel like it adds any moisture. I don't feel like it does anything except sit on top of my makeup, which in my opinion is the literal opposite of what I want from a spray like this. So I don't suggest this, and I need to get rid of it. Next setting spray to talk about, this is the Profusion and Mean Girls Regulation Hottie Setting Spray. I did a whole video on the Mean Girls and Profusion collection, which I can link down below. This is something I didn't like. This is, it says soft peppermint. Soft? Yeah, right. This literally feels like I put mouthwash in a spray bottle and then decided to spray it on my face. It is so strongly minty and it's burning. It is just so unpleasant to use. And on top of that, I don't feel like it does anything for my makeup, for my skin. I don't like it. I don't want it. I need to get it out of my collection. Let's move on to cheek products next. I just have a handful here. So first and foremost, I have this blush and highlighter duo from Wet n Wild. This was from the Wet n Wild and Saved by the Bell collection. I also did a video reviewing the entire collection. But they came out with several blush duos. This one came broken. I'm really sad about because I feel like if this was not broken, this would have been my favorite one out of the entire collection. This like peachy, really pretty soft blush is right up my alley for a color. And then the highlight is that perfect champagne-y gold color that I like. But again, it came broken, and I know automatically I'm not gonna reach for this because it's broken. I don't want it. Half of the blush has migrated over to the highlight. So the highlight is completely unusable for me unless I want a highlight and a blush mix, which I don't. Unfortunately, I am going to get rid of this. I'm just gonna throw it out. Even the case itself is broken, like the whole lid is broken, so it's unfortunate. I think I would have liked this one. Okay, this is kind of an unpopular opinion. This product I'm getting rid of because it's old, but I also just didn't like the product. So this is the M Cosmetics Heaven's Glow Blush in the shade Magic Hour. So this blush is a baked blush, and I kind of have said this about Milani baked blushes, some of the shades. I don't feel like there's much of a base color to this. It's mostly just like a shimmery, metallic-y topper type of situation. So not a ton of base color. It's just not my style. I prefer a matte blush. I don't mind like a glowy blush, but if I'm gonna have a glowy blush, I want it to have a base color to it. I don't want it to be like just shine. I hope that makes sense. Not my favorite product. I also don't like the packaging. Like, it's pretty darn bulky. It's hard to put in the drawer that I keep my blushes in. I know a lot of people rave about these, but it's just not a product that I like. A baked blush that I do really like is Luminoso by Milani. I feel like this is one of those rare baked blushes that has a beautiful base color. It has that sort of sheen, gold sheen, but it's not metallic. It's not sparkly. It is really just that perfect little sheen. Now, I did mention this recently in a video. I feel like the new version of Luminoso is not the same as the old version, and this is old. And that's really why I'm getting rid of this. I did use this recently on my face, and it didn't last for more than a couple hours because of how dry and old it is. Years old, guys, years old. I hate to admit it. So I need to get rid of it. It's not working on my cheeks anymore. I do love this blush. It is one of my favorite blushes. It pains me to declutter it, but I got plenty of blushes. I don't need this one. Another blush along the same lines as the one I just talked about. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icon in the shade Mellow Wine. One of my favorite blushes. Really beautiful matte apricot warm tone blush, but I've had this for years. I used it recently. It didn't last on my skin at all. I picked up the new version, which comes in like the circle packaging. It is a completely different formula and a completely different shade. With that being said, I like the new one. It's just not the same as this one, so have to lay her to rest. Going to the makeup graveyard. It's a beautiful blush, but it's just too old. And then the last blush I want to talk about is this one. I've mentioned this on my channel. This is Nars Orgasm. I keep buying this thinking that I'm going to like it, and I never like it. This is like the third one that I've owned. Now, thankfully, this was just like a little sample point perk or like a birthday gift or something from Sephora. I am digging my finger in here, like pushing, which I wouldn't be doing with a brush, right? And it is just all gold sparkles. It's like the bad version of Milani Luminoso. I don't feel like there's a base color to it. It's just straight up gold glitter, in my opinion. I don't like this blush, so I need to get rid of it and pass it on. A lot of people like it, so maybe one of my friends or family members will like it. I just don't. Let's move on to some lip products. I have mostly lip liners to talk about. I have a massive amount of lip liners. Massive. So I grabbed a handful that I knew I wasn't going to use and I need to get rid of them. So let me give you some quick little thoughts on them. So the first two that I'm going to talk about are from Rimmel. So I have the Lasting Finish 1000 Kisses Lip Contouring Pencil. I have the shade Spiced Nude and the shade Indian Pink. I'm really getting rid of these mostly because of the color. I don't think I will use this color, either of these colors, really. They are more on that bright pinky side, which those aren't shades that I really use very often. So this is Spiced Nude and this is Indian Pink. They're just not colors I would use. And then on top of that, I feel like these pencils, because they are true pencils, they are a little bit on the stiffer side. They're a little bit on the drier side. Not my preference. I'm gonna get rid of these. I don't need them. A lip liner formula at the drugstore that I really love are the LA Girl Ultimate Intense Stay Auto Liners. These are so good. I've had many of them over the years. I still have some in my collection, but I am gonna get rid of these three. Honestly, two of them because they're very old and one because I don't like the color. I have the colors Relentless Red, Nonstop Nude, and Enduring Mauve. Enduring Mauve? Enduring Mauve. That's kind of a weird name, isn't it? Relentless Red has been my go-to red lip liner for years. Now, this formula is definitely more on the creamy side versus the Rimmel, which was a little more stiff. So they're not as long wearing, but they are very easy to just glide on the lips. You can fill your lips in with these and use them as lipstick, which I've done many times. So that red color is a beautiful blue tone red. The Nonstop Nude shade in the middle was my favorite lip liner for years. Like I used this for like forever. And I'm getting rid of those two because these are very old. I've had both of these in my collection for years. And it's quite a large component, so I didn't even go through them completely, and I've used them a lot. So it is a really good lip liner formula. And then the last one, Enduring Mauve. This is a fairly new one to my collection, but I really don't like the color. I bought it online. I didn't know that it was going to be such a pink mauve. Thought it would be more of like a dustier mauve, but I really don't like this color. I tried it on my lips. I looked ridiculous. So I'm gonna pass it on and see if someone else will like it. Another drugstore lip liner formula, although I don't know, I feel like they've discontinued this line. This is the Essence Stay 8-Hour Lip Liner. This one is in the shade So Default. So this is more of a, again, mauve-y color, but I really don't like the color on me. So that's really why I'm getting rid of it. It's just not my favorite, so it's gotta go. All right, the last lip liner I wanna talk about is the ColourPop lip liner in the shade Aquarius. One of my favorite lip liners. I love this one. This one is more, I would say, more mauve-y. And this is what I was looking for when I was looking for a mauve lip liner. I was looking for something like this. Unfortunately, this has been discontinued, and this one is so old, like so old. So it needs to go. I don't really want something super old around my mouth. I feel like I don't want to get a sore. I don't know. I just don't want to risk it. It's gonna go. Last lip product to talk about, this is the Nars Velvet Matte Lip Pencil in the shade Dolce Vita. I haven't tried a whole lot from the brand, but a lot of the products that I've tried, I just don't really like them. This is one of those products. It is a matte velvet lip crayon, which I'm down with. Like, I could like something like this, but it is so incredibly sheer. You look at this thinking it's a red, and then you start to like work it, and it almost looks like a blurred effect on the lips, which is not what I want. If I'm gonna have a lip crayon, I want it to be pretty pigmented. This, I feel like on my lips especially, I could not build it up to look like the color that's on the cap. It was more faded, almost like I wore a liquid lipstick that faded off my lips. It's just not something I want. If I want a sheer type of lip color, I want it to be like a tinted lip balm or a lip gloss. But something like this, I want it to have pigment, so just not for me. I'm gonna pass it on. All right, we're gonna go on to eye products next. So I have some eyeliners to talk about. So first I have two eyeliners from LA Girl. These are the Glide Gel Liners. Once again, these are my favorite drugstore eyeliners. I think they're awesome. They work great. They glide in the waterline so easily. They last a really long time. They have several colors. I have a brown, I have like a gunmetal silvery gray. They're really nice eyeliners. I'm getting rid of these because they're old, and that's the only reason. Honestly, I've used them for years. I don't want them near my eyes, just like I said about my lips, so they gotta go. But if you're looking for a really good, affordable drugstore eyeliner, I highly suggest these. Then I have a BH Cosmetics liquid eyeliner. So this one is, I never actually even used it. I got it years ago, like free gift with purchase, but look how fat the tip of that is. There's no way I'm gonna be able to make a precise wing with this. So I just don't have any use for it. It is quite black, but it's very old, and I just don't like felt tip liners. I much prefer a brush tip. They're much easier for me to use personally, and I think it's exploded because now it's all over my fingers. Love that. I'm just gonna throw this out. Okay, and then I have an eye primer. So this one is the NYX Ultimate Shadow and Liner Primer. This is the worst eyeshadow primer I've ever used in my life. I hated it. It's claiming to be light, like it's tinted. It's not tinted. Once you put it on and you blend it out, it's clear. Like, there's no tint to it, which is fine. I can deal with that. I just feel like it's false advertising. The thing I don't like about this is it is so wet and liquidy. I don't mind a tacky base, but this is like liquidy. It made all of my shadows crease like crazy. And I don't typically have a huge problem with creasing, but this made my shadows crease instantly. I even let it set. I even set the base with a powder. It just never made my eyeshadows look good. It always made them look really kind of patchy and creasy and weird. I don't suggest this one. No, it's not a good primer. I have this little brow powder thing from e.l.f. I don't know what it's called, but you guys know what I'm talking about. This brow powder bite size brow thing that came out last year. It comes with 2 powders and 2 waxes. I have mine in the shade Neutral Brown. Listen, it's fine. It's fine. Like, the powders are fine. They're functional. I just don't really go for a brow powder very often. I bought this more for testing purposes, and it was fine, it worked, but I don't really see myself reaching for this. I much prefer a brow pencil. It's much faster for me to be able to shape my brows and all of that. And then the waxes I didn't like. I didn't like the waxes at all. I thought they didn't really do much. They were just like clumpy and thick. So getting rid of it because I just don't reach for it. Haven't reached for it since I used it in the video. Okay, and then I have three like single shadow things to talk about. So the first one is a ColourPop Super Shock shadow. This one is in the shade Blaze. I love ColourPop Super Shock shadows. I'm getting rid of this one because it's old and dried out. It's quite crumbly. It is beautiful. It's like this kind of cool toned bronzy shade. Really, really pretty. I don't really tend to reach for single shadows like this very often. I'm very much so more into palettes and using the metallics that are in palettes. So I really didn't get a lot of use out of this because I didn't reach for it, but it is a really pretty Super Shock shadow. Just, it's dried out, it's time for it to go. And then I have two liquid shadows, which are kind of similar in the same kind of color family as this one. So this is the Megalast Liquid Catsuit Shimmer Liquid Eyeshadow from Wet n Wild. I think these are great drugstore liquid eyeliners. This one's a little more like cool tone bronzy. They are really nice, really sparkly, really opaque, which I really like. It adds like a metallic finish to the eye. I'm getting rid of this because it's very old and yeah, I just don't need it. But if you are looking for a drugstore version, these are really nice. Did I tell you what shade? No. This is in the shade Cashmere Love. And then the e.l.f. liquid eyeshadows are also really, really nice. These ones a little more on the sparkly side. So I have one in the shade Copper Pop. And of course, this is going to be more copper. See, this one is quite dried out, so it looks a little patchy on my hand, but this is more of a copper type, obviously, Copper Pop. But these are really nice, affordable liquid eyeshadows. I just don't reach for products like this. I should probably get rid of all of the ones I have, but I'm not ready for that yet. So this is enough. I'm gonna throw them out. They're very old anyway, and I just don't reach for them. All right, and that is it for this declutter video part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me your thoughts down below on any of these products that I mentioned today. I would love to know your thoughts. And stick around for part 2, which will be my eyeshadow palette declutter. Now, I'm not going to do like a usual eyeshadow palette declutter where I put out all of my eyeshadows and then declutter, just because it won't be very satisfying. I'm really only decluttering like 10, maybe 10, 15 eyeshadow palettes. So out of my entire collection, that's a very small percentage. I just don't think it would be the most satisfying thing to see only 10 palettes being decluttered. But if you want to see like an eyeshadow palette collection video, do people still like those? I still like them. I have a giant collection, so I could definitely like show you what I got, give you my thoughts. I mean, that would be a very long video. Anyway, I am blabbering on. Stay tuned for part 2, which is my eyeshadow palette declutter. All right, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, both beauty and fashion videos, and I would love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time. Bye.